We're gonna go over what every strength coach needs to run a large room, and we're gonna start right now. Now, one of the big aspects around having a gym and having a business that's based around an on-site gym where you're actually training athletes from all levels. We have professional athletes training, we have Olympians training, all the way down to having 6 and 7 and 8-year-olds that actually work out in the gym. So we've got to figure out how to run a big room. So we need to understand how to run a big room. 1, so we can make money and pay our bills and keep the lights on, and 2, so we can provide a really good service and get our athletes to their full potential to become freaks, to become champions, to cultivate their power. So what I've done is I put together 3 key aspects that you guys can use today and implement inside of the weight room to increase your overall performance as a strength coach. And that first aspect is going to come down to what I refer to as the triple P framework. And that's going to be the simplest aspect of we need to plan ahead. Okay, so the first P, we've got to plan ahead. If we know who's coming into the gym at what specific times, or we know the athletes that we're training on specific days, who the athletes are. Okay, we know who's coming into the gym, we know what their problems are, we know how we can solve those problems as a coach. Ideally, you should, right? The next thing is we have to present that plan to the athlete. Okay, so now we're planning, then we're presenting. That's the first 2 Ps. That presentation is going to be, this is what you need to expect today. This is how we're going to get this done. This is going to be the sequence of events. This is how I'm going to instruct you. And that's going to lead to that third P. That third P is going to be power. Okay, so we're establishing a plan. So we have the plan in place. We present the plan. We establish power. What does that mean? That means we need to establish and control the room. So initially, okay, we have to understand who are the stable athletes in the gym that aren't going to be looking for attention. The louder individuals, the ones that are constantly looking for some type of attention from the coach, be it bad or good. Okay, so if we can go through that triple P framework of planning ahead and knowing who's going to be in the gym, what are the problems we're trying to solve, and how are we going to control that room. Second P, present the plan so everybody knows what to expect. If you lay out your expectations on a regular basis, everybody knows what's going to happen. Third thing, establish that power and control in the room. Know how the room needs to be laid out, know where the players are, and understand how everyone interacts. And that first key concept then to revisit is the triple P framework. The second key aspect is understand the time session formula. If we have a formula in place, and I'm about to give you literally the formula that you should be taking into your gym, if you are running a business and you want to make money, or even if you're at the high school level or the collegiate level and you want to have an effective training session, you need to use the time session formula as the key to the triple P framework. Okay, so as we go through this time session formula, we're going to show you how you can hit every single key aspect around an actual workout, and then how you can implement it. And it's going to start with that mobility / warm up. This is going to be a 7-minute period. Okay, so in your mind, you should have that clock rolling 7 minutes. Now, if you're a coach who needs to have a little bit more control, you need to set a 7-minute timer, by all means, go ahead. I think it's a little bit better to establish that 7-minute warm up a little loosely and just recognize what the time is when the kids come in and how you're gonna roll through that. When we work in our system here, we go based off of time slots on site. So we know for the kids to get everything done, they've got to stay in this routine. Remember, if you have the triple P laid out, now when you do the time session formula, it's going to become routine. So if you practice this for 2 to 3 to 4 weeks, by the time you get to week 5, week 6, it's going to be ingrained in your mind. That's going to take us into the next period. So we're starting off with that 7-minute warm up. Then we get into the period around technical coordination. So now we're doing some type of weightlifting variation, a power snatch, a power clean, a behind the neck jerk, whatever it is that you're doing in your system. Ideally, you're using peak strength as a guide. You're sitting there with peak strength next to you. You're saying, okay, we did our warm up. Now inside peak strength, we're gonna go 1A. 1A, again, power snatch or power clean. We're gonna do this for 12 to 15 minutes. This 12 to 15 minute time frame should follow a very specific rest period. Oftentimes coaches forget rest periods because they're getting distracted by questions and they're sort of all over the place. This is where peak strength comes into play. As a coach, you can have peak strength here, and then you have your plan here, and then you're going based off of that rest timer, and that keeps kids on track. You get through through that 12 to 15 minute time frame. That's the end of period 2. Okay, that's going to take us into period 3. This is going to be the absolute strength portion of the time session formula. This is going to be a session that's going to be about 15 to 20 minutes. Let's pretend we're doing 5 sets of 5 back squats. Session starts, boom. You do a set of 5 back squats. You rest for 2 minutes. They do another set of 5 back squats. They rest for 2 minutes, another set of 5 back squats, and you work through that 20-minute time frame. That's going to take us into the hypertrophy work and accessories. This is going to be 10 to 12 minutes. We're going to make sure that we have our coaching cues lined up. We make sure that we're following those rep schemes. We're making sure that we have that program laid out based off of how we do things in Peak Strength. You can head over to Peak Strength, that app, the Google Play Store or the Apple iOS Store, and you can download Peak Strength and see how this is going to be laid out. Then finally, we're going to get into that ab portion. Okay, in the ab portion, that's going to be about 5 minutes. Finally, we're going to finish off with that mobility for another 10-minute period. So we're going to go back to the beginning. The time session formula starts off 7 minutes of that warm-up / mobility. Okay, 7 minutes there. 12 to 15 minutes of technical coordination. 15 to 20 minutes of absolute strength. 10 to 12 minutes of hypertrophy and accessory work. 5 minutes of ab work, 10 minutes of mobility. That's the time session formula. If you use that in conjunction with the Triple P framework, now you have things sort of piecing together. And then that's going to take us even deeper into the session where you're going to have better control over your athletes and ultimately lead to better results. And this takes me into my absolutely all-time favorite training protocol, the 5, 10, 15, 20 protocol. Yes, I do use this with exercises like dips and clap push-ups as a crazy pyramid drop set, but I'm going to teach you how, as a coach, I like to use this 5, 10, 15, 20 protocol specifically based around eyesight. I think oftentimes as coaches, we get overwhelmed with the technique that our athletes are doing. We get overwhelmed with the questions that we're getting. We get overwhelmed with the program and are they following that as precisely as possible. We get overwhelmed with all of these little things and we sort of get lost in the sauce, and we also, inside of a training session, might feel overwhelmed. We might feel like, oh man, I'm sort of ruining this entire workout. But if we use the Triple P framework and then you get into the session formula, now when we get into that 5, 10, 15, 20, and we constantly train this just like our athletes, we're gonna optimize our overall performance as coaches. So that first aspect of the 5, 10, 15, 20, this is all based around feet. How far away am I from an individual? So if I'm 5 feet away, I have to be spotting them. Okay, if they're in my vicinity of 5 feet, I'm spotting you. I'm spotting you as a coach on a bench press. Let's just say theoretically. I'm gonna give you the cues, I'm gonna give you the lift off, I'm gonna coach you through that, I'm gonna try to motivate you to hit all those reps, and we're gonna get some serious work done. So if someone is in this 10-foot realm, I need to be instructing them. Okay, I can give this guy a pick, he's executing, I'm saying, hey, press harder, drive the elbows faster, and then I'm instructing someone who's 10 feet away from me, hey, make sure you're a little bit more controlled on that single leg squat. Hey, Alyssa, you're over there on the pull-ups, make sure you go to a dead hang stop. Okay, you can give those simple instructions. Now, if someone's in that 15-foot range, I'm giving them a directive. A directive might be put a 5 on each side of the bench. Hey, can you put those dumbbells back over there? Hey, get ready, we're gonna do, power cleans. Whatever that directive is, we just need to be very, very clear. Okay, and then finally, if we have someone in that 20-foot range, we need to be making eye contact. If I'm constantly making eye contact with people on the peripheral, okay, they're gonna know that I'm paying attention. And then we can sort of work back. So we go 20 feet, we're making that eye contact, they know I'm paying attention to them. They know I'm aware of what they're doing. 15 feet, let's say they start to think a little bit more. Now I'm giving you a directive. Yo, little Johnny, go put the gold band around there. I want you to hit ghost face kickbacks. Okay, that's a directive. Then we go down to that 10-foot range. Again, we're starting to give them the instruction. The instruction is, I want that executed a little bit more control. I want those shoulders tight, whatever things that we're trying to focus on, right? We're going through nice and gently. And then finally, we're spotting. And I actually like to use the acronym when I'm thinking about the 5, 10, 15, 20 as side implementation. Okay, so I'm gonna walk back through again. 5 feet, that's where we're spotting. 10 feet, that's where we're instructing. 15 feet, that's where we're giving the directive. And then finally, 20 feet, we're making eye contact. So it's side implementation from the 5, 10, 15, 20. We've got to use all of these different protocols. When we've got a large group, it gets overwhelming. And if you can start off with that time session formula alongside the Triple P framework lays out what the plan is gonna be, how we're gonna present that plan, plan, how we're gonna actually control with some power. That's gonna take us into that time session formula. That's gonna be how it's implemented. And then finally, even mining deeper, that's where we use the 5, 10, 15, 20 protocol with the side acronym implementation. These are all things that you can do today as a strength coach. You can go into the gym and you can try to optimize that time. It's gonna help you with your coaching, and it's gonna help you develop more freak athletes. And you can even use our strength training app, Peak Strength, so it shows you those rest periods. It can help you with the actual workout so that you have to think a little bit less in that presentation or that planning period, and instead you can lead to a little bit greater control. So head over to peakstrength.app, the Google Play Store or the Apple iOS Store. You can download Peak Strength today and start to play around with those programs so that you can train those freaks. Because remember, freaks, if you want to train some champions, you've always got to cultivate your power. Peace.